and Jake enjoy each day. Sly is never far away. Mother and father both work in a little shop. Granny's often busy, Harry is too. But all of them are happy in the village of Dimbledale, 'cause there's always lots of things to do.
Farmer Merry is leaning on his gate. Sally and Jake walk by. They stop to ask if they can see his animals.
"Oh, not today, my dears,"
He says.
"I'm busy building a goose pen."
A goose pen? Whatever's that? Asked Jake. Pens are for writing, aren't they? Says Sally. Farmer Merry shakes his head.
A goose pen's a sort of cage. You keep the goose in it to stop her waddling off and getting herself lost.
Jake wonders if he and Sally could help make the goose pen.
Well, you could keep an eye on the goose, that'd help,
says the farmer. Sally and Jake say they'll try.
Right you are.
Will she mind us looking after her? Sally asks.
Course she won't,
Says Jake. We'll take her for a walk.
Good idea,
The farmer says.
She's a silly old varmint, but she won't mind you two. She'll be as quiet as a lamb, I shouldn't wonder. Come on, Bluebell,
He says. Sally and Jake lead the way. Bluebell thinks about it, then follows, honking goodbye to the farmer as she goes. The children walk back to Dimbledale. They get to the post office. Bluebell is still following, and Jake and Sally dodge behind the pillar box. Boo! Peepo! Boo! Peekaboo! Boo! Let's show Bluebell to Mother and Father. So the three of them walk on. Jake thinks the goose had better wait outside for the moment in case the shop is full of customers. He and Sally go in. Bluebell looks round and wonders if there's anything good to eat. She finds some juicy strawberries. They're smashing. Come on, Bluebell, says Sally, and stop eating all the fruit. We've got a new friend, Mother, says Jake. She's called Bluebell. The goose waddles in. Goodness gracious, says Mother. Whatever are you doing with that thing? You can't bring it in here. The goose finds a bag of carrots. Bluebell? Fancy calling a goose a daft name like that. Bluebell stretches up and picks a carrot out of the sack. Jake chases after her. Hoi! He shouts. You mustn't do that. You better take her back where she came from, Mother says. We can't have this. The goose finds a sack of grain. She's especially fond of grain. So she pecks a hole in the side of the sack and the grain falls out. It makes a lovely pile for eating. Sally says, "Oh dear, Bluebell." Mother comes round the counter to look. "Oh, we'll have no shop left soon," she sighs. "Now off you go, you two, and take your scallywag with you." Sally and Jake stand waiting. The goose comes out and begins leading the way home, honking loudly. The children follow. "Oh, thank goodness for that," Mother says. Sam is outside the old school mending a hole in the pavement. He's smoothing some cement with a trowel. Bluebell walks right through the middle of the nice wet patch and leaves 2 big footprints behind. Sam smooths them out. Then Sally steps in the cement too, and Jake. Sam's very cross.
I'm wasting my time, aren't I? Wasting me blooming time.
"We're only chasing Bluebell," Sally explains.
Ah, well, you go and catch her then, before I wring her neck.
Bluebell is outside Harry's barn when the children catch up with her. Sally says, "You're supposed to be as good as gold, so you better start behaving," says Jake. But the goose doesn't take any notice. She says, "And honk to you," says Jake. "We're going to see Harry." And the children turn into Harry's barn. So does the goose. Harry doesn't seem to be at home. Everything's very quiet. He must have gone somewhere, Jake says. Do you know where he is, Goosey? Sally asks. Bluebell thinks he's having a sleep, she whispers. How can she know, says Jake. But then they hear a snore. Sure enough, Harry's in bed, all wrapped up in bed socks and nightshirt and blankets. The goose waddles across to have a look. She grabs the blanket and tries to pull it off. And tries again. And again. Then she sees Harry's bed socks and tries to pull them off too. Poor Harry. He sits up.
Oh, what's happening?
He says.
What's going on?
Then he sees the goose. Sally and Jake keep well out of the way. Harry starts chasing Bluebell. Oh dear, says Sally.
Flippin' heck!
Harry shouts. Jake calls, come here.
Get out of it!
Yells Harry. Bluebell waddles out of the barn honking. They hurry after her. The front door to Sally and Jake's house is wide open. Bluebell goes straight in. Father is sitting quietly looking at the paper. The goose decides to have a look too. Then she peeps under Father's arm to get even closer. Father's taken aback. He throws the paper at the goose and starts chasing her around the room and then out into the garden. The children let the goose through. Father stands with them, watching her waddling about. Then Sally tries to catch her, but misses. Father tries. He gets the paper back. Bluebell stands outside Granny's wondering whether or not to go in. She does, with a honk. Granny is busy cooking. The goose thinks there might be something to eat and honks again. Granny's so frightened she drops the saucepan. It's got carrots in it. Bluebell grabs a carrot. Granny tries to grab it back. When she does, the goose takes Granny's glasses instead. Children don't know what to do. Bluebell waddles around the room in Granny's glasses and Granny chases her shouting, "Come here, you little monster! What do you think you're doing?" Now, the goose is wearing a chair as well as Granny's glasses, but still poor Granny can't catch her. We must do something, says Sally. Granny grabs her glasses. Got you, she says, but she hasn't. Bluebell waddles off triumphantly. The next thing she does is to pull the washing line down.
What a kerfuffle,
says Father.
What a calamity,
Granny says. What a carry-on, they all think. Then Father and Granny and Sally and Jake all go hunting for the goose. Harry joins in too, in his dressing gown. Sly is asleep by Sally and Jake's back gate. Bluebell finds him, she says, and tries to wake him up. He does wake up eventually and watches the goose go through the gate. That's caught you, he says, and goes back to sleep. Father and Granny and the children wonder if Sly has seen the wretched goose anywhere. Harry catches up. Farmer Mary arrives. He sees Bluebell shut into the children's back garden.
Ah, there you are,
He says.
You been behaving yourself? I finished your pen, so you'd best come home again.
Has she been behaving herself? Says Sly. Little does he know. Oh, well, never mind. All's well that pens well. And he goes back to sleep, purring.
Sally and Jake and the mother and father and Granny and Sly, the cat and Harry too. All of them living a to do. Sally and Jake enjoy each day. Sly is never far away. Mother and father both work in a little shop. Granny's often busy, Harry is too. But all of them are happy in the village of Dimbledale, 'cause there's always lots of things to do.